What's up? What's up? It's about that time. Welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here on the Clemson Voice of College Football YouTube channel. Of course, presented to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I'm running the show solo for a little bit until TPC joins us. He's finishing up with his daughter's softball tryouts, and he'll be joining us shortly. So I thought I would take just the first maybe 10, 15 minutes of the show, kind of chop it up with you guys before we really dive into the content of tonight's show. We got a lot to talk about. I labeled the show Big Dog Recruiting for a reason. I think this is going to be a really good time to talk about kind of it's kind of a pun, really, if you have an idea of what I'm about to talk about. But kind of the importance of the Clemson-Georgia rivalry, not just on the field, but, on the recruiting trail. If you have followed recruiting, that Clemson and Georgia have been going head-to-head for quite a few top elite prospects. And, Clemson seems to be trending in a good direction with quite a few of them. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit and kind of emphasize how important it is that Clemson is doing what they're doing on the trail right now. But before we do any of that, before I chop it up with you guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you are hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and make sure you're sharing these videos because, of course, they help us grow the channel. We're trying to grow our audience here on the Voice of College Football YouTube channel, the Clemson channel specifically, but of course the Voice of College Football Network as well. So all of your likes, shares, and subscriptions are greatly appreciated. Of course, if you want to monetarily support the show, the Super Chat feature is available at any point. It's a good way to make sure that any comment, question, concern is read. And another way is also by becoming a channel member. So that option is in the description as well, the join button, where you'll have access to a lot of exclusive content, especially during the season. So you guys, if that's something that you guys want to partake in, by all means, we would greatly appreciate any and all support. But with that being said, let me give a quick shout out to the comment section. We got John already in here tonight. Yeah, we're going to talk about Segun Alexander. Not too surprising there. I think that was one that Clemson was kind of fighting an uphill battle on. We'll talk about him. John also says you're early. Yeah. I was stalling for a little bit of time just to give TPC some time to finish up, but I didn't want to keep y'all waiting too long. We got Katie in the house. Thank you for joining us. Another one of our regulars. He says, "Go Tigers." Love it. John says Jordan got a fancy camera. Yeah, we did a little upgrading. So I think I'm pretty pleased with the setup so far. I'm still going to probably tweak it a little bit when I get the opportunity. But I was tired of looking all grainy. So we finally nutted up, forked over the cash. It was long overdue. So also I've had this mic, but it's kind of been off screen. You can probably kind of see it up underneath there a little bit. But I wanted to just go ahead and bite the bullet there. See who else is in here. TMFB. I'm not sure if I've seen this username before. He says, "What's good, fellas? Thank you for joining us regardless." We greatly appreciate. If you're new to the channel, please, if you haven't already, subscribe. Or if you're a regular and you've just been, you've been watching and, not necessarily interacting in the live chat, welcome back. And thank you for popping in the live chat. But yeah, let me see what you guys are talking about. Big news in college football today, by the way, with the Brendan Sorsby news. I know you guys are probably like kind of over that whole story by now, but I just find it so fascinating. And I had a good laugh, honestly, when the ESPN notification, popped up on my screen, because I was, you went through all of that litigation, all of the excuses, the injunctions, the complaining, the fake, sob story. Like, it's like, oh man, it's going to be detrimental. It's going to cause personal and irreparable injury if he's not allowed to play for Texas Tech. You do all that, you go all that, you get the injunction to play, and then you decide you're not going to play because obviously I think the optics and Texas Tech realized, the optics of it was getting to be too much, and they just decided, we're just gonna go ahead and bite the bullet on this one, and just say we and take the loss and move on. Um, but and then you go through all of that. Brendan Sorsby is like, okay, well, I guess the supplemental draft is going to be my only option, my only recourse here. Is that's the only way I'm going to get to the league. And then the NFL decides, we're not holding one this year. Sorry, sorry, not sorry. Got to wait till next year. Um, I as funny as it is, I am thankful, at least to some degree, that the NFL is taking the gambling thing seriously. They probably should be taking some other things seriously that go on with some of their players in the league, but at the very least, they are taking a strong stance on preserving the integrity of the actual football game. You can talk about off the field stuff with other players, but those don't affect the actual results of games. I think it's important that we preserve that. So I thought that was I just thought that was fascinating. I had that in my mind all day, and it's just kind of funny how that played out. Let's see what y'all are talking about. John says, I hate this dead period list season. Almost tempted to quit looking at XR football just because I'm overloaded with. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's getting to the point. I mean, and I'm sure you saw the that ranking. I believe it was by Andy Staples for the top coaches in the ACC, and they had Dabo Swinney third behind James Franklin. I mean, sure, okay, fine. You want to put, I guess you want to put Mario Cristobal in there for recency. Like, do you want to? Do you want to use recency bias and say, okay, we're just going to go with what have you done for me lately? Mario Cristobal was just in a national title. He was one possession away from winning a national title. That's fine. I would disagree with that methodology, but I understand it. I understand Miami is the top team in the ACC right now. But to put James Franklin, who number one is in his first year at a new job, and also he's at this new job because he was fired from his last one because he wasn't winning anything. I mean, if you're going to knock Dabo Swinney for not being the same, at the same level as he was during the 20 teens, and making the playoffs consistently and winning the ACC consistently and competing for national championships, you cannot extend, more grace to James Franklin, who has nothing to his name, but he won one Big Ten championship in 10 years at Penn State. No playoff appearance. Well, I'm sorry. No, he made one 12-team playoff. I'm sorry. I take that back. He made one 12-team playoff, but one 12-team playoff appearance, no Big Ten title appearances, none of the things that you would typically expect from a top coach in the ACC. You're putting that over a future Hall of Famer, two-time national champion coach who as bad as 2025 was, Dabo won the ACC in 2024. He made the playoff. I mean, still Clemson is still one of the top 3 or 4 programs in the ACC at the moment. I mean, and from an odds perspective and a just from a recruiting and even still perception standpoint, because I mean it's not saying much because the ACC is not great, but at the same time, if we're doing lists and we're talking about these coaches' accomplishments, why does James Franklin get get that bump just from being at a new job that is perceived to be a good fit for him? Like, Clemson and Penn State had the same season last year. I mean, yeah, one beat the other in a bowl game, but that doesn't really change that much. I'm not really sure what the difference is and what the differentiating factor was there. So I thought that was really silly. I don't know, but you guys let me know. Let's see. Let's see. John says, I see some ball knowers questioning if Kirby has lost his edge too. Recency bias is nuts. Yeah, I don't get that either. I mean, I like to clown on Georgia. I like to clown on Georgia fans, but I mean, I think Kirby Smart has done it. You know, he continues to be one of the top coaches in the sport. Georgia is still one of the most talented programs in the sport. I'm not really sure how you square that. Um, it kind of I see, and this from his own fan base too. I mean, you see Georgia fans talking about we're the new Clemson, and I'm like, y'all just won the SEC. Y'all were just in the college football playoff. Like, still one of the top programs in the country. Yeah, you didn't win back-to-back national championships. Yeah, I mean, these last couple of teams haven't been as great as 2021 and 2022. I mean, that's a tough bar to clear. I mean, if Clemson was having the seasons the last few years that Georgia was having, but not winning national championships, we would not. I mean, sure, you know, obviously in perspective of, oh man, Clemson had won, you know, 2 national championships. Yeah, that's a little step below, but we wouldn't be talking about, man, Dabo has lost his edge. Dabo just isn't serious about winning anymore. Dabo doesn't care. Like, all those things. Like, I think that's just a ridiculous mindset to have even now with hindsight, the benefit of hindsight. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But let's see. Katie says some writers don't know their left hand from their right hand and just say and post blasphemous things. And tell me about it. I mean, and again, part of it is like John said, it's list season. So, you know, you've got a lot of people that are just kind of striving for content, you know, searching for content, you know, trying to milk whatever that feels like they can get them clicks. Because this is the toughest part of the off season, because, you know, recruiting, you know, you're hitting the dead period. You know, official visit season is winding down. You know, guys are making decisions, but, you know, there's not a whole lot of content you can make out of that, especially if you're not a recruiting centralized or focused outlet or publication. Like, you got to be making, you know, season content, preseason content, and we haven't gotten to media days. We have no, you know, spring practices have come and gone. All that content has already been put out and milked. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do other than that. And so it's okay. Now it's time to do the top, you know, top football teams with a slide in their facilities, or top football teams with a with grass instead of turf. Like, you know, the stadiums with the best concessions. Like, we're coming up with BS, because you kind of have to. I'm saying we, but I mean, but you know, it's just the college football media space as a collective is, you know, this is always the worst time of the year as far as making content. It's one of the shortest seasons of the year in any sport, and one of the longest off seasons. And that means you get a lot of content that's just not very good. And again, it's an oversaturated market to begin with, because there is a lot of demand for it. So, all right. Well, it looks like my co-host has joined me. I'm gonna bring him on. TPC, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, man. Are you still at the softball fields, or?
I am on the way home now. So
Okay. Well, drive safe. You know, obviously we got the I think you got the phone up, so should be good there. Why is I feel like my volume is really low. I can't hear you. It's this new setup. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, I don't know if that did it.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I think it's just me. I feel like you're coming through fine to everybody else. It's this. I'm still working out the kinks on this new setup.
Okay, I got you.
Let's see. Let's take a couple more, and then we'll get into the the show tonight. James says Cristobal has had unlimited resources in Oregon and Miami and has won 0 natties. I'm not going to argue with it. I understand why they are high on Mario Cristobal and all that. I mean, and obviously with Clemson and Florida State being down, perception wise, that's always going to be a thing you're going to have to contend with. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, the two top teams that have dominated the ACC for years are down in Florida State and Clemson. So, I mean, the next obvious choice is Miami, and they got Mario Cristobal. And although he has not been able to get over the hump when it comes to winning a quote-unquote national championship, you can't sit here and say that he doesn't recruit at a very high level. Like, accumulating talent has never been a problem for Mario Cristobal. It's always been a problem for him on the field and some of his coaching decisions, particularly late in games. But again, they played for the national championship last year. They expect to do the exact same thing again this season. If I was a Miami fan, I think I would be concerned with constantly rolling the dice when it comes to the Russian roulette, if you will, of transfer quarterbacks and those guys constantly hitting gold. I feel like eventually you're going to strike out with that sort of mentality, with that sort of recruiting mindset, if you will. But again, you can't refute the fact that he stacks talent at Miami. They got basically unlimited funds, and he has improved as an on-game or an in-game coach, if you will, over the years. But we'll see if he can get over the hump here eventually. Could be their year to win the ACC. Who knows?
Who knows? I was able to get my my settings fixed, so now I can hear you good. Yeah, it was definitely me. All right. Let's see. Katie, talking about any Clemson baseball news? Yeah, we need to take do a segment and just kind of cover Clemson's portal additions, because I quite frankly I have not kept up with the portal, all the portal additions. We'll do an in-depth segment on Clemson baseball next show. I promise y'all don't let me forget that. Because I want to make sure that we talk about that, because Clemson's doing some good things in the portal right now. Eric Backets is he's set out to prove some people wrong. So all right, let's see. Yeah, John, Oklahoma is really something in batting sports these past few years. Yeah, it's impressive, man. I mean, and what their baseball team did this year was ultra impressive. I mean, that's one of the toughest. I think one of the toughest roads to a College World Series championship I've ever seen. I mean, I think they played 11 national seeds, something like that. That's almost unheard of. So props to them. I mean, and the way they got hot at the end of the year. There's not really much you can do when a team is on a heater like that. I haven't seen anything like it, to be honest with you. I saw some people, they're like, oh, they're rolling the bets. There they go. I don't know. Hey, I mean, if they find proof of that, so be it. But that was a pretty incredible run. I think you got to give them a ton of credit. Shame on North Carolina not holding it down for the ACC.
Right.
the ACC still has not won a College World Series since Virginia in I believe that was 2015, 2016.
That's insane.
2015, yeah. As good as many great programs as the ACC has, the ACC they haven't had many teams that have won the College World Series.
Right.
So it's pretty shocking. And, Clemson being one of them. Clemson and North Carolina have, along with Florida State, have the most College World Series appearances with no title. That's a pretty embarrassing stat. I think Florida State has like 24, UNC has like 13, and Clemson has 12. So not a good stat to be a part of.
Yeah. What a shame.
Uh-oh. I don't know why my camera disconnected there.
What was that?
I don't know.
I haven't seen that screen before.
Yeah, it's the new camera. My camera's interface thing doing weird stuff. All right, that was weird. We'll edit that out. Let's see. All right, TPC. I think that's all we'll take from the comments for the moment, because I do want to dive into the show tonight. Of course, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we are presented to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the #1 sports book in America. So if you haven't already, if you are a degenerate gambler or just a casual gambler, either or, they have something for everybody. Y'all need to go ahead and download it, get signed up, because they are the #1 source for odds, picks, whatever you want. So y'all make sure to go ahead and download it, especially with the World Cup going on. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, TBC, but there have been some great games. It's been phenomenal. I saw something. If you had bet, especially like on FanDuel, if you had bet, I think if you had taken the over on Lionel Messi's goals, Kylian Mbappe's goals, and Haaland's goals last night, if you had bet like $20, you would have won like the $1,400. So,
Hey,
crazy money. Cristiano Ronaldo had himself a phenomenal game today with 2 goals. It's been a fun World Cup. I'm not like a huge soccer guy. I always tune into the World Cup. And the U.S. they've put together a really nice squad. They've already secured a win in the group stage. I think they play Turkey on Thursday in a kind of a meaningless game, because like I said, they've already won the group. But they also have not ever won all of their group stage games in World Cup history. So, you might be chasing history there.
yeah, that is true. I mean, I think our highest finish is the semifinals back in like 1930.
The first World Cup, yes.
Yeah, the first ever World Cup. So, I mean, shout out to the men's team. I mean, they came in, they took care of business against Paraguay, and then who did we play next? I think we played Australia, beat them 2-0. So 4-1 against Paraguay, 2-0 against Australia. So we are 2-0 in our pool games, if you will. Got one more to go. It'd be great if we could go 3-0 there. Obviously, we've already secured our spot, and we're moving on to the next round. But again, you want to keep that momentum. You want to continue to play in a big way and continue that. I mean, far be it from me to be a soccer fan. I don't know anything about soccer. I don't know the rules. But look, it's fun to watch the men's team go out there and win games, especially when it's on your home turf. It's the World Cup. It's a national thing. It's huge. Everybody in the world is watching. Everybody traveled here to watch the World Cup, and it's fun when you got a team that is looking like they can compete and maybe make a bit of a run here in the World Cup. So that's a lot of fun, man. I look forward to seeing how far this team can go.
Yeah, 100%, man. So, and of course, even if you're not a soccer fan, a great way to keep it interesting is to go and place a little bit of moolah on it, place a little bit of money on, whatever you want to call it, on the games. It does make it a lot more interesting, especially when you place it on the biggest stars, because they have been really profitable this tournament. So I'm kind of mad I didn't jump on it and put more on them sooner. But it's been a phenomenal tournament. But y'all, big thanks over to our friends at FanDuel. Like I said, they keep the lights on around here. So y'all make sure to go support them as well. All right, TPC. First thing I want to talk about, Clemson got another commitment over the weekend.
They did.
This was a kid that we've talked about a good bit. Well, not a good bit, but we have mentioned in passing on the show because obviously there were still some bigger fish out there on the board that we were kind of waiting on. Notably, linebackers Roman Igwebuike and linebacker Sean Fox. But Clemson went ahead and they went ahead and pulled the trigger, and they went and landed 3-star linebacker R.J. Hudson out of the state of Virginia. TPC, R.J. he has a cool nickname. It's a funny nickname. He goes by Bounce. He is, when you watch his tape, I mean, he kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of a hybrid of what Dorian O'Daniel was and kind of what Barrett Carter was at Clemson. I don't think he's gonna be quite as good. I'm not saying that that's like his ceiling. I mean, because those were two fairly highly drafted players. But when you watch his tape, he played primarily edge rusher, in high school, but he's definitely going to be an off-ball linebacker in the league. He's going to have to put on some size. I don't think he's a guy that they're going to consider, playing full-time on the edge. But I think he does have utility as that hybrid role. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to watch him a little bit, but the twitchiness is very evident. He's really, really good in pursuit, which I think was a big thing for them when they were evaluating him at the position. And at the next level, I think as a linebacker, where he'll probably play like a will type of role where he's, they're going to use him to rush the passer at times, but they're also going to use him in coverage. I think that's something he'll probably have to develop at the next level, but he has the physical profile for it. TBC, have you gotten a chance to watch him at all? And if so, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a guy that's super athletic, I think. I mean, he's super fast, a little bit undersized if you're looking at him for like an outside linebacker type role. Obviously, Clemson's recruiting him at the linebacker position. I think he's a good get for the Tigers. Again, an athletic guy. I mean, can pick him up and put him down. I mean, he can run. And I think that's the thing that stands out the most when you watch him on tape is he can absolutely fly when it comes to pursuit of the football, getting downhill, things like that. So I think that's definitely his strength. Obviously, he's going to have to get into the program, strength and conditioning, put on a little bit of size, put on a little bit of muscle, but definitely a good get for the Tigers. I think he's going to be, a guy in the future that can be a weapon for this Tom Allen defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try to pull his highlights up here. I don't know why it's not letting me. But I think he's a great addition. Clemson kind of they went ahead and offered him the linebacker spot when he visited. A couple weeks ago. And I think it was kind of an understanding, a reading of the tea leaves with, especially with Roman Igwebuike, that, hey, this one's probably not trending our direction. He went ahead and committed to Notre Dame yesterday. Not surprising at all. It just seemed like it was trending that way the whole time.
Yeah.
But, I think obviously they needed to have something in their back pocket if Sean Fox didn't end up going, and trending in their direction. And those of you that have kept up with recruiting, there was a lot of momentum on Clemson's side with Sean Fox at one point a couple weeks ago. The the winds changed a little bit, so to speak. I think you guys can kind of guess, and some industry predictions started to sway the other direction in favor of Kentucky, the other major player in his recruitment. And I think there was kind of an understanding and kind of a realization of where that thing was heading. And RJ is a kid that they really like, and I think is going to fit well in this linebacker room. And they said, let's go ahead and bring him in the class. Now, I think they would still, take Sean Fox if something were to change. He did release his final three or top three, I think, yesterday, and that consists of Clemson, Kentucky, and Georgia. So, not a surprise there. I think things are favoring Kentucky right now, and I think it's going to take I think it's going to take something pretty significant for that to change at this point. I think you would need a pretty significant difference in from a monetary standpoint in order to go and get his commitment. So I think, like I said, RJ is a great addition to the class. I think like I said, he's going to have to put on some size at the next level if he's going to be a playable candidate at the linebacker position. But again, I think he has those hybrid capabilities that remind you of guys like Dorian O'Daniel and Barrett Carter and I mean Trenton Simpson, another recent example. With the ability to rush the passer, with the length and athleticism to play in space. I think he's going to be a worthy addition to this class. So welcome to the class, RJ. Y'all let us know what you guys think of him. I think it made a lot of sense. So let's see. And also, make sure you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you guys are checking us out on our audio platforms. We are on pretty much any audio platform that you can think of, wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. We are pretty much everywhere. All you have to do is search up Clemson Voice of College Football. You'll find us. You'll find all of the audio from our live streams, all our live shows there in podcast format. So whether you're on a drive, whether you're at the gym, on a walk, whatever it is that you're doing, you can listen to us through that as well. Make sure you're leaving a 5-star review. It helps us a ton. Like I said, another great way to just to get us out there and help us build this community here. It's a great option, especially if you're not a huge live show person, or you're not always on YouTube, and don't really have the time to sit down and watch a multi-hour live stream sometimes. So that's a great way to kind of watch us or listen to us in chunks or bits and pieces, or you can pick and choose whatever you want, whichever segment you want to listen to. Because like I said, we do put the timestamps of all of our live shows and all the topics that we cover. So another great way to support the channel. All right. Sticking to the theme of recruiting, I mentioned, Sean Fox, and Clemson and Georgia being involved, in his recruitment. Clemson and Georgia have been at it a lot this cycle for a number of high-level prospects. I can't emphasize how important it is. I think, when you talk about the success that Clemson has had on the trail, what it means to be going head-to-head with Georgia and winning battles. You're coming off of a 7-6 season, and all the things that this program doesn't have going for it from a PR standpoint. I mean, it's pretty incredible what they've been able to do. But specifically, when you talk about Georgia, I've said it for a long time. I've covered and followed recruiting for a really long time at this point. I think Georgia is Clemson's most important competitor on the trail, bar none. I don't think it's close. I know some people would say South Carolina just because it's the biggest rival and the in-state school, all that. But no, I think Clemson and Georgia's recruiting footprints overlap so much. I don't think there's a way to argue for any other program. So, and when Clemson has been at its best, it's because they've been able to win, not only win recruiting battles against Georgia, but go into the state and the state of Georgia itself and collect talent. And I mean, when you look at this recruiting class, I mean, you see the number of players that are from the state of Georgia. I mean, that is the most important state. I think it's the most important state that Clemson recruits. When Clemson is recruiting Georgia well, they're typically playing well. They're typically winning games because one, just the recruiting footprint is so strong. With ties to Atlanta, and we're really just the Metro Atlanta area, South Georgia. It's obviously Northern Georgia as well. Closer to the border, the Augusta region, Athens, and all of that. It's been extremely important over the years for Clemson to win those recruiting battles. And, you've already had a couple of really nice wins. Obviously, the biggest one being four-star offensive tackle J.J. Brown, which was a pretty big surprise to a lot of people. That was just one where they, relationships, I think, were a huge part. We talked about how Clemson's financial commitment on the trail has changed significantly this cycle compared to previous ones, and that certainly helped a ton. It's TPC when you talk about Georgia, and I think that it's always important to discuss, especially within the context of how good they've been the last decade. How much that I think as a Clemson fan you have to feel a little bit hopeful, a little bit positive, and optimistic about the present direction of the program, that you're still able to win those big time recruiting battles, especially against Kirby Smart, and Georgia at the not quite the peak of what they've been, but pretty damn close. I mean, they're still one of the top 5 programs in America.
I mean, look, let's face it, this is Georgia, right? Like, this is one of the premier college football programs in the country. They're steady winning SEC championships. They're steady competing for national championships, and you can say they're not at their peak. They won their 2 national championships a couple years ago, and maybe they're coming back down to earth a little bit, but at the end of the day, this is Georgia, and it's a premier program in college football. It's one of the best in the country. And when you go head to head against a program like that, when you go head to head against a head coach in Kirby Smart, who has multiple national championships under his belt, just like your head coach does, and you win those recruiting battles, that cannot be understated, especially when you're coming from a 7-6 season like Clemson is coming from. Clemson is probably at its lowest that it's been in a decade plus. I mean, we are at, like, the Clemson stock is at its absolute lowest. Even the glass half full, orange colored glasses Clemson fans out there have to admit that Clemson stock is at an all-time low in a decade plus. And you're steady out there beating Georgia for high-level high school recruits. And there's something to say about that. There's something to say about your head coach still swinging that big stick, if you will, on the recruiting trail in Dabo Swinney. It shows that he still has the ability to sell the program. It shows that he still has the ability to close a deal. It shows that the recruiting dollars have shifted at Clemson, and they are becoming a bit more competitive when it comes to the high school recruits. Clemson for a long time always wanted recruits to come there and earn their money, so to speak. And I think they've shifted it this season, or this recruiting cycle specifically, into we're going to pay them now, because the recruiting at Clemson has slipped over the past couple seasons. And you're seeing a distinct uptick in recruiting this cycle. And if you're a Clemson fan, you got to ask yourself, what has changed? And I think what has changed is they are willing to pay high school recruits a little bit more money than they were willing to pay in the past, because they've lost out on so many of those high school recruits. Dabo Swinney and company have realized they have to change their approach when it comes to high school recruiting. Dabo Swinney is a believer in high school recruiting. He's a believer in building your program through high school recruiting. So he realized, hey, in order for me to continue to do that, we have to pay these guys a little bit more than we have been willing to pay them in the past. And that's really the difference in 2027. I don't think a lot has changed other than that in Clemson's recruiting for high school players in 2027. It's the same program. It's the same leader of men that we have in Dabo Swinney. It's the same things in the program, the Paul journey, the teaching players how to be men and teaching them beyond football, what happens after football ends. All that stuff is still a part of the program. The one thing that has changed in this 2027 cycle is they have been willing to get a bit more competitive when it comes to the money portion of high school recruiting. And that's why you see the uptick in Clemson recruiting. That's why you see them in the top 10, the top 12, the top 15 consistently, regardless of where you look on the recruiting boards. So that's really the difference. I think it's been a much needed change in Clemson recruiting. It's been a good pivot for Dabo Swinney and company. And if you're going to continue to compete in this new world of college football, that's what Clemson needed to do. They've made that pivot in 2027, and I'm glad to see the recruits start cycling in.
Yeah, absolutely. The financial commitment to what they've, the success they've had, it's pretty remarkable. And I mean, you got to keep it going. There's still a few big fish out there that Clemson is going to have to beat Georgia again for. So that's going to be extremely important. And when you're talking about tying up the loose ends of this class and kind of putting a bow on it. But I mean, when you look at the history of this, this program, when you look at the history of the Clemson Georgia rivalry, and when Clemson has been at its best, like I said, it's when you've been winning battles in the state of Georgia. I mean, obviously the ones that jump off the page are Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. But, there are countless other guys that have come through this program over the years, even dating back to Homer Jordan and the likes of them. Those teams, those teams were built on largely, Georgia talent as well. So it's, I've always said that Clemson having success in the state of Georgia has always been more important than in-state recruiting. And I still think in-state recruiting is important. So I don't want people to, to brush that off and say, well, did Josh Dobson go, on leaving the state, that's okay. All right, it is what it is. We don't care. Like I don't feel that way at all. Jayden Bryant going to LSU, although I think that one's I got my thoughts on that recruitment. But like
right.
I think it's still important to get your top guys and keep the top guys in house in the state. I mean, like Amari Adams a couple cycles ago, like that was a big win. You need to do that more consistently. But at the same time, the best Clemson teams have been composed a lot of Georgia, Florida talent as well. And obviously the Carolinas and Tennessee is mixed in, but it's Georgia is the number one pro. It's like if I could take the top players from one state each year, it would I'd pick Georgia 10 times out of 10. Twice on Sunday, whatever you want to call it, however you want to phrase it. And I think if you do finish out this class with the guys that you feel like you have an opportunity to get, like the Jayden Aparicio-Bailey and Seth Tillman, and Seth Williams. Like especially if you corral all three and get them in the class and hold on to them, and hold on to them. That's the really important part. I mean, that things look so much different for you. And I think it sends a statement to the rest of the college football world that Clemson is still going to be a huge player on the recruiting trail. I mean, you've already seen that they are finally willing to invest somewhat in the transfer portal. So I'm liking the new talent acquisition model of what Clemson is Clemson is doing. And if you want to get back to the mountaintop, this is the way you have to do it. So while they're not like loaded with 5 stars and like what Texas A&M is doing right now, like I mean, I don't ever expect Clemson to do that. They've never been that type of program. They are still landing the guys that they want, the priority targets. They're not having to settle for so many second, third options like they were in previous cycles, and especially recent cycles. And they're beating top recruiting programs to do it. So, just kudos to the staff, kudos to Dabo Swinney, and kudos to all the people behind the scenes from a financial standpoint that have made it happen as well. Because
I mean, and you can look at Clemson recruiting. I encourage all fans to go look at the historical data behind Clemson recruiting and go look from 2015 to 2018, 2019, 2020, and go look at where Clemson consistently landed in those years. Clemson has never been a top 5 recruiting program. Have they had a top 5 class before? Yes. Is that the norm for Clemson? Is that what they use to compete at the highest level repeatedly for over a decade? No. They hang out in anywhere from the 8 to 12 range when it comes to recruiting classes. And they've been able to develop those guys and make those players what they needed on the field. They have never been this factory of 5-star after 5-star after 5-star, top 5 recruiting class after top 5 recruiting class. That's never been what Clemson was. So you just got to get back to that 8 to 12 range, hang out there, get the right coaches in place to develop these athletes, and you will be right back in position of where you were before, hopefully competing for the ACC and ultimately the national championship in years.
Absolutely. This is like I said. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, this is the way to do it. This is how you get. I mean, this is how you get back to the mountaintop. This is how you reset the standard that you set for yourself in the 2015s and 16s and 17s and 18s. Again, like, it's a different age in college football. I don't know if we'll ever see that level of Clemson again with the roster turnover. Like, I mean, Clemson, the Clemson teams of old were, they were very fortunate with, talent retention and, getting guys to come back and all the things that they were able to do uniquely that, just this version of Clemson is just more than likely not going to be able to do unless, some radical things change with, how players are compensated, player movement, all that, until, we have some guardrails on that, you're going to have guys cycle in and out of the program. You hope to have it happen less than other programs, but it's still going to happen to you. And, you're not going to be able to stockpile the level of talent that Clemson was able to, but you still got to get guys in the building. You still got to recruit and Clemson's re-emphasis on being able to get those top guys and not settling as much and being more competitive, like I said, like you and I both said, from a financial standpoint, it's made all the difference. So very, very pleased with the effort, and hey, I like beating Georgia for guys they want. And there's something about it. It's uniquely satisfying compared to other programs, and I think it's just because these two programs go head to head on the trail so often, just from a historical standpoint, and it's all the more important now with Georgia being one of the top programs in the sport. You gotta you got to get yours when you can. And if you're getting more of your fair share, then, things are trending up and you're probably getting pretty good players.
For sure. No doubt about it.
All right. All right, y'all. Make sure you are also checking out the Voice of College Football website. I got to plug it every show because it really is phenomenal. You guys need to go, if you haven't already, go and make an account. It's free, doesn't cost you any money. It is our one-stop shop, our hub for everything in the Voice of College Football Network, where you can find all of our news. You can find our message board forums, our channel information, live show schedule, our the immense amount of articles that have that continue to be written every single day. For any team essentially. The Voice of College Football website, it has a lot of guys just like you, me and TPC who are just really passionate about the sport. They're not, being, paid by, this university to shell out, this opinion or whatever, and they're not. It's none of that. These are independent writers, just writing about the team that they cover, and I think that's what makes it a unique and great place to go and consume your college football content, because it is free from all the baggage that some of these other sites have, and I think that's pretty cool. It's also a great link to our Voice of College Football shop. I'm going to take y'all to it right now. The Voice of College Football shop is where you can find all of your Voice of College Football merch. Of course, we're the Clemson channel, so I'm going to plug all the Clemson stuff. A wide array of options from hats, shirts, koozies, tumblers, pretty much anything you want at a reasonable price. Great material, great fitting. Y'all make sure to go and get one. I need to put one on for you guys on the show. So it's not just me plugging it. It's like, oh, but do you have one? I got to make sure to do that next show as well. But seriously, it's a great way to support the channel, support the Voice of College Football Network. Also get yourself some pretty cool gear. So I think it's a win-win for all parties. So y'all make sure you guys are doing that as well. All right. Sticking on the note of recruiting, kind of putting some final, bows and wrapping up some loose ends on this 2027 recruiting class. I already touched on the recruitments of Jayden Aparicio-Bailey, Seth Tillman, and Seth Williams. All recruitments that I think Clemson has well within their opportunity and chances to land. If you get all three, that's tremendous. But I think getting two out of the three would. I feel like you got to feel pretty good with where things stand. If you can land two of them, and they're, like I said in the previous segment, where you're going against Georgia for them. I guess I'll start with Jayden Aparicio-Bailey. His timeline is looking like early July as far as a commitment. I really like where Clemson stands right now. I think they've made him a priority. They've made the commitment to him. Georgia's not going away. But as it stands right now on the 23rd, I like where Clemson sits for the 4-star defensive back. I think he's going to bring a lot of versatility to the role, to the defense. He's a guy I think that will be able to play nickel for you, be able to play safety. I think he's going to bring a lot of utility to the defensive backfield. So if you do land his services, massive win for Tom Allen, massive win for Mike Reed and this defense. And then sticking to the theme of defensive back, the first Seth Williams, obviously former Clemson commit, has kind of backed off his commitment, felt like he committed a little too early, felt like he still wanted to take his visits, wanted to make sure he was making the right decision. Another Clemson Georgia battle down to the wire. This one feels like it could go either way depending on the day it is. That's just kind of how it's been. He's been extremely complimentary of both programs. He's enjoyed both their visits, and I think it's going to be a tough decision. He said himself, there's not much separating the two programs right now. So Clemson is kind of banking on the relationships there, and kind of hoping that carries them through. But Georgia, he has great relationships with the Georgia staff as well. During his visit, he was hosted by two former Clemson Tigers, and Khalil Barnes and excuse me, who am I thinking of? Oh goodness, I'm already blinking. But Khalil Barnes, most notably, hosted him on his official visit. So obviously, I feel like that was a intentional move by Kirby, and not a very subtle one, but a smart one nonetheless. To kind of spread some dirt, and kind of show kind of the ugly side of Clemson, so to speak, and
for sure,
the experience there.
A little bit of negative recruiting there, if you will.
Yep. So we'll see how that goes. But I feel reasonably good about where things stand. I mean, but again, I still think this is one that can go either way depending on the day. Seth has got a big decision ahead of him. As far as I know, he has not informed either staff. Where he's leaning, it's still a decision that I think is very much up in the air right now. But again, if you land him to pair with Jayden Aparicio-Bailey, I think that is a phenomenal way to close out the defensive back class, and you're getting two really good football players. Then I think the biggest fish left on the board, probably one of the highest ranked left on the board, is none other than four-star defensive lineman Seth Tillman from South Point in Rock Hill. Obviously the high school of Jadeveon Clowney, and obviously the Rock Hill area in general is a Gamecock stronghold, but it's come
very
down
much so.
Very much so. It's come down to Clemson, Georgia. I think those are the two the two teams to beat. Michigan, for whatever reason, felt like they had a realistic shot with him, but
little did they know, they did not.
They did not. And especially if you're familiar with Seth's with his personal situation, proximity to home is a big deal to him. So I was never too worried about the Michigan. There were Michigan writers talking about, hey man, there's Seth. They might have swung his recruitment. No, this is a Clemson Georgia battle all the way. And right now, I think Clemson should be viewed as the team to beat as it stands right now. Not really a hot take. I'm sure you guys have seen the predictions come in, but a lot can change between now and then. It's doing that thing again. A lot can change between now and then. So you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. All the cliche sayings, but it's seriously like. Clemson may be viewed as leader now, but still got a couple of weeks to go before he is set to make his decision. I believe he set his decision date for July 3rd. I want to say that might be Seth Williams. I get the two confused as far as their decision dates.
A lot of dates rolling around.
Yeah, I think Seth Williams. I think Seth Williams is the one committing on July 3rd. I think Seth Tillman's is later in July. But regardless. A lot of time, a lot of things can change, but Clemson I feel like is sitting pretty good with him at the moment. So I think that's it for recruiting. Oh, and I did want to hit on Segun Alexander committing to Notre Dame yesterday. Not a
Yes.
surprise to anybody. Not a surprise to the staff at all. That was always I felt like one that was going to be a little bit of a long shot. They got in on him when there were a lot of rumblings with that he was going to reclassify into the 2027 class, but Texas A&M hosted him first, and Clemson got their swing at him.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Texas A&M would have been could have potentially been the leader at one point, but Clemson was always kind of fighting an uphill battle. They kind of had to play catch up on their official visit weekend, and then I think when he went on to Notre Dame the next week, I think things clicked for him, and I think they did a really good job with him. So, um, would have been extremely nice to have him in the class, and I'm interested to see if they continue to push and get a third at that position. But at the same time, not I'm not devastated over. I think he's got really good tape, and I think he's a really good football player. But I think that's one that you got to live with losing. You're going to lose some, and I think Notre Dame just won out on that one. So, not too concerned about that one. And like I said, you still got Seth Tillman out, to worry about on the defensive line, and you'll kind of go from there to see if Clemson will go and fill that position elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not a huge surprise there, but this class has been, I mean, a welcome pivot from recent classes for Clemson. So I think if you're a Clemson fan, you have to be at least a little bit excited about kind of the pivot in recruiting for the Clemson Tigers, especially when you think about the season that you're coming off of. So I mean, I don't think any Clemson fan out there could have guessed that this recruiting cycle would have kind of been the turn that it has been for Clemson recruiting.
No, I mean, not at all. I mean, not in my wildest dreams. I mean, I felt before before the class was coming together. I was like, man, is it going to be the same old, same old? Like, are they going to maybe get a guy here or there and then lose them because they weren't able to pony up financially, or like like last class? Are you going to be in the same, or we're going to have the same talking points about, man, this class doesn't scream like championship, getting back to the mountaintop type of class. I mean, you've got guys you like, but I'm not so sure this is going to be the one that's going to really help you build back towards, title contention. This class feels a lot different. I mean, at the moment with the guys you have, and especially if you land the few guys that you still have left on the board, I mean, this is a class that's pretty chock full of guys that I think that will be contributors for you in the future. At varying levels. I mean, I think some you've got future stars, and some you've got future role players, and pretty good players, developmental pieces. I mean, I think it's a pretty robust class, and it just kind of reminds you more of the Clemson classes of old, as far as just the mix of talent. You still have, like I said, you still have your developmental pieces, but it's not so full of guys that in the years past you probably wouldn't have taken, or probably wouldn't have been pressed, or they probably wouldn't have been their only the only player at their position, or one of the top players at their position. It just feels like the overall average talent has gone up significantly in this class. So very, very pleased with what this staff has done. I mean, I can only sing their praises so much in this show, but I've been very very happy with the results. And like I said, even the ones you've lost, I mean, you can't win them all, and it hasn't been because you didn't put your best foot forward, or you weren't able, you weren't just competitive, from a financial standpoint. So
Yeah, and I think that's that was the missing piece for Clemson was just, and we've talked about it on the show countless times.
All right. And make sure as well, you guys are checking out the Amazon link when you're doing your shopping. Another way to support the show doesn't cost you any money. Just click the link when you go to do your shopping on Amazon, and the Voice of College Football Network gets a little bit of a kickback. So another great way to support the channel, support the network. The link is in the description. Very, very easy. Doesn't cost you any extra money. Any extra, takes you maybe a couple of seconds. So support us that way as well. Okay, I think that's it's going to do it for the planned portion of the show tonight. Wanted to keep it abbreviated due to the schedule constraints tonight. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Still got 20 of you in here. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. I haven't checked the YouTube. I haven't checked the live stream on YouTube, so I don't know how many likes we're sitting at. But it better be close to 20. Since we've got 20 people in here right now, should be more because we had more at different points. So make sure you guys are hitting that like button if you haven't already, because it helps us, and it's completely free. That's the big thing. It's completely free.
It's free, and it's a good way to support the show.
And now this is the time that we'll turn it over to you guys. Talk about anything you want, whatever, whether it's something we talked about during the show, questions, things that you're just dying to know, dying to ask us about. We're here to take them.
Hey, Jordan, can you hear me?
So you guys are arguing about Tanner Muse. That's a interesting one. Are we talking Tanner Muse in regards to what? Why are we debating about Tanner Muse? TBC, I can't hear you if you're talking.
Hey, can you hear me?
I don't know if that's just me.
Can you hear me?
I lost it.
Jordan. Hello?
What is happening? All right, wait. TPC, say something. Okay. Gotta love the technology. I think my microphone changed. Hey, we got two of you now.
Oh Lord, can you hear me?
Yep, there you are.
All right, sweet. I don't know what happened. I was talking before, and you weren't hearing me, so I had to back out and get back in and do it a couple times, and now it's working.
Okay.
No clue.
Well, that's gonna.
What happened, but as per usual, technical difficulties on the All In show here. Hey, you know what? Hey, FanDuel should do a odds on technical difficulties on the All In show. They'd probably make some money off of that.
Yeah, they probably would. They probably would.
Our friends over on FanDuel should put that prop bet up, if you will, and our listeners should definitely go hit that because they can make some money on that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. So that's gonna be weird on the audio. But you know what I think it is. I think when my camera periodically disconnected, I think it switched over the speaker output. And I think that's why because I had to go and change it again. I got to work the kinks out with my new setup here. So that's
work in progress here. Work in progress.
Work in progress.
We're making improvements to the show, but it's not without its fair share of bugs.
Yes. No. But I can hear you now. Let's hope it doesn't do that again.
Yeah. What do we got for questions?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through. It was not showing that you were. That was weird. They were arguing about Tanner Muse. I don't know what.
Arguing about Tanner Muse. How did Tanner Muse get in this conversation?
I don't know. It was hard to follow. It was hard to follow. They're having a little debate. I don't know if John and Hard
talking about safeties.
Yeah. Oh, they're talking about Ronan Hannafin. Okay, okay.
Oh, okay. I got you. They're comparing him to Tanner Muse.
Talking about white safeties. Okay, let's talk about
Okay, all right.
Yeah, let's just talk about all the white safeties that you know.
Because they're all the same, you know.
Yeah, they're all the same. Let's talk about let's talk about Nolan Turner too. I might as well just throw him in the conversation.
Tanner Muse, Ronan Hannafin.
Just throw them all out there.
Yeah, they're one and the same, dude.
It's like Tyler Venables, like what?
Yeah, Tyler Venables, copy and paste, dude. Copy and paste, same.
Yeah.
I love how like instantly like any sort of like defensive back that's white, just instantly is like compared to the next white defensive back. Because of the rarity of it, I guess, is why it happens. So,
yeah,
you know, I get it, but you know, it's one of those things.
It's hard. Take says no. Nolan Turner had the cool arm brace. That's what separates him. Yeah, he did have a cool arm brace.
He did have an arm brace.
See. Yeah, just talking about. Yeah, Tanner Muse was faster. That's the thing. Like Tanner Muse's 40 time. I don't know, man. Here's my thing about Tanner Muse. Like, he did not play as fast as he apparently was, but I think he was still a better player than he got credit for. I mean, I think his bad moments just jumped out to a lot of people. But again, I also don't think he was as good of an athlete as his testing showed that he was. At least on the field, he was great in underwear. But like,
his 40 time made it seem like he should not have got repeatedly burned like he did.
I agree. I mean, but I don't know. It was different. I mean, and again, there's different types of speed in football. There's different, there's different demands. Like, and it's straight line down, running downhill. I mean, Tanner Muse was, he could fly, but I mean, if you asked him to, you're asking him to backpedal and or play, sideline to sideline. I mean, he was not that type of player all the time. I mean, when he faced good athletes, he was not going to be super effective most of the time. That's just coverage skills. They require a different level of athleticism, a different kind of athleticism that
it's the change of direction that is required for the coverage skills, right? It's not just like straight line speed is one thing. Being able to run straight distance super fast does not mean that you are going to be a good defensive back or a safety in football. You need to be able to flip your hips, change direction, be able to read the wide receiver's eyes, be able to read their hips and their feet. And if you're not capable of that, you tend to get burned. And he definitely got burned quite a bit. I mean, he's got a lot of not great highlights on his side.
That's for sure. He has some he has some pretty ugly moments.
Some lowlights, if you will.
All right, we got a BYOG or sell from John. He says Kevin Kelly's fingerprints will be all over this 2027 class and will exceed the expectations based on ratings. BYG or sell. I think that's a pretty easy BYOG. I mean, I really have been pleased with the evaluations in this class. Oh, it's doing it again. Let's see if it kicks you off the. Hold on, let me change the output.
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay.
We might have fixed it. We might have, maybe not, but we'll see. But I can still hear you. But yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be. I really like this class. I really like what they've put together. I like the evaluations. I don't think they're all perfect. I don't think this is going to be an 100% hit rate class. No class is, but
Right.
I do think this is a class that is probably underrated in some respects, and by some publications, some outlets, certain players that I think should be ranked higher than they are.
Right.
And it's easy to say that everybody thinks their class is underrated. Everybody thinks their players are underranked and all that. But I do think this is a pretty strong class full of guys that I think will be contributors for you. So I'm very, very excited about this group as it stands right now. And if you get the remaining guys that are still on the board, this goes from a really good class to a phenomenal class. So just very, very, very happy with the efforts from the staff, whether it be the coaching staff or the general manager and the quote unquote front office staff, because they are just as important as putting this class together, and especially when you're dealing with the financial side of it and the evaluation side of it. We haven't talked much about Kevin Kelly but I think his presence has been extremely important. In those facilities, it's been extremely. He's been an extremely valuable part of what they've been able to do. From a recruiting standpoint. And kind of facilitating some of the financial stuff. It's not a pretty job. It's not a glamorous job. Some of the things that he does, he has to do, but he's still first and foremost a scout, a guy that's going to go and find guys that can play here. Take some of the heat off of the coaching staff, and he's like, hey, you go find guys that is like, this guy can play. I mean, he was a scout for 30 plus years in the NFL for a reason. He well respected, and he knows what he's looking at.
Right.
He knows ball. That's what I'm trying to say. He knows
no
ball.
doubt about it. No doubt about it. Knows how to evaluate talent. Maybe a little bit different of a role for him as opposed to what he saw in the league and kind of his roles in the front office. But again, a similar role, but just slightly different. And you can't refute his credentials and all the years that he spent in the front office in the league and his ability to evaluate talent. So, I mean, it was a huge get for Clemson when they were able to get him for their quote unquote front office. And I think that's going to pay dividends down the road for the Clemson Tigers when it comes to talent evaluation and acquisition. So.
Right. Yeah, hard take. I said great in underwear. That's what the combine is. It's the underwear Olympics.
Underwear Olympics.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Underwear Olympics.
The Underwear Olympics. CJ says BYOG or sell. The 2026 team will be better at running the ball than stopping the run. Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm gonna sell on that. I think this team will be I think with the amount of emphasis that Tom Allen has put on stopping the run and the year one like difference that we saw in 2025, especially towards the back half of the season, as far as their run defense, I don't expect them to take a take a step back or a I don't expect them to get worse there. And I mean I think they could potentially get better just with guys having more experience in the defense.
Right.
Yeah, you've got some new faces, but I think those are guys that are that fit well what they're trying to be. And I think as a unit, as a team, and the run defense really is a team effort. I mean, it takes everybody from the defensive line to the safeties to fit the run, and you got to have guys that know what they're looking at. And they got some quality players that I think are going to help you along with the guys that you still have from last year's team. So I don't know. I'm going to sell on that slightly. But I do think this team will be markedly better at running the football than they were last year.
Yeah. I think they have to be for this Chad Morris offense to work.
Yeah. Yeah, Harte says, yeah, speed, acceleration, smooth hips, change of direction, ball skill. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's straight line speed. There's how fast do you get to your top speed? Because I mean, it's one thing to be fast, but it's like if it takes you forever to get to it, how how effective.
If it takes you 3 seconds to get to or 4 seconds to get to your top speed, then guess what? The elite wide receiver's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. He's in the end zone.
Yep, smooth hips. Yep, you can be as quick as you want, but if you're not fluid,
right,
and able to, change directions, change position,
yep.
Shadow and track, like all of the things that are required of you as a defensive back, especially in man coverage. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, ball skills, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's got probably the thing that's probably least important as far as when it comes to interceptions. That's obviously you want to have great ball skills, but from a play-to-play standpoint, the most important thing is preventing a completion. Not necessarily, turning the football over. So, but still you gotta have it. And the best players have all of those things. Yeah, David says Spiller and Ford were fast. Yeah, that's they had different type of speed there. Yeah, Travis Etienne, I think he was fast. It's tough because I wouldn't put his speed up there with like Spiller and Ford's. I don't think, especially definitely not Jacoby Ford. Jacoby Ford is might be the fastest player I've ever seen play at Clemson. Him or Nate Wiggins, I think, which I think Isaac mentioned.
Yeah.
I think those are the two fastest humans I've ever seen put on a Clemson uniform.
No doubt.
But Travis Etienne was fast. He was very fast. I think he was one. I feel like he was one gear short of fast. But he had breakaway speed for sure. And he had such a great balance of speed and power, especially when after when he had kind of established himself. Like he had a year in the program.
I think the biggest thing with Travis Etienne was his contact balance, like his ability to absorb a hit from a defender, and then the acceleration after that was what made him special.
Yeah, I mean, he got to his top speed so fast. I don't think his top end speed was fat like crazy fast, but he got to it so quickly.
Yeah, his acceleration was elite. Yeah. He had elite acceleration, and his ability to absorb contact and then get back to that top gear is what truly made him special at the running back position.
100%. Let's see. Arteg with a BYG or sell. He says Dabo really believes in cycles and is going to move to a baseball player to play quarterback a la Kyle Parker before he puts in his quarterback to be like Boyd. And I don't think it's quite analogous. It is an interesting parallel. I think Tate Reynolds' ceiling is higher than Kyle Parker's was. I think if Tate Reynolds realizes his position, we're talking about his potential. I think we're talking about him differently than we talk about Kyle Parker, and that's not shade to Kyle Parker, because I mean Kyle Parker was a very good quarterback, and especially in 2009, he was a very good. I mean 2010 was a huge disappointment, but like 2009 Kyle Parker, boy,
he was good.
He was good, man. But I think Tate Reynolds, like, if he, from a physical tool standpoint, I think if he realizes his potential, I think it's better than what Kyle Parker was. Especially if he doesn't play baseball at all at Clemson and just kind of focuses on football.
I hope he never plays baseball.
Yeah, which I know, which is selfish of me. Because I think he would be a really good baseball. He'd probably be one of the best outfielders in the country if he went ahead and played baseball. But
yeah, no doubt.
I think his potential as a quarterback is very exciting as well. It is extremely exciting. So I don't think it's quite analogous. I love Kareem Hewley. So like I think you have two guys. You'll have two guys next year in the room that you feel like are going to be future starters for you. So I don't think it's completely analogous. I'm gonna say sell, but I think the parallels are interesting. Just getting a former baseball guy and then going and getting a guy like Kareem Hewley. But I guess. Obviously they're all from different states. So it's a little bit. It's not quite the same, but it is funny how things kind of repeat themselves with especially with Chad Morris coming in year one.
It is interesting.
Talking about Ricardo Jones. Yeah, that. That's who you guys. Oh, you guys were talking about that. Yeah. Ricardo Jones. Hey, I mean, led the team in interceptions. Was one of the was one of the top players in interceptions. But you went and replaced the guy he tied with, or replaced him with the guy that he tied with for interceptions in Jerome Carter. So, I was extremely high on Ricardo Jones coming out of high school, and I still feel like he's going to be a good football player, but. Although he had 6 interceptions last year, but from a down-to-down basis, a lot of inconsistency. Still kind of finding his way in that defense.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he puts it all together at Vanderbilt. Wouldn't surprise me. I do think the potential is high on that kid. So, but I think you did a good job in replacing him, and you just you got to move forward. Can't lament those losses at this point. What last season was last season. You knew you were going to have departures. That just is what it is.
And you needed them.
Yeah. Oh, DeMarcus Bowman. Yeah, talk about a name. Yeah, that one of the.
Wow.
one
Oh
of the
man,
most disappointing recruits in recent memory for Clemson. I mean, they've had, especially at the running back position, they've had a few that jump off the page. He's one of them over the last 12, 13 years. Obviously Mike Bellamy is a guy that everybody points to. Just never really put it together. Tavian Feaster. So that crop of guys.
ew.
Yeah. Yikes.
That name.
Yeah, that name.
That name. That guy may be the most, or at least my least favorite person to ever suit up for the Clemson Tigers.
It's I don't know if he'd be my least favorite. He did have nice moments, but
maybe, but it's just it's not that he left. It's where he went and the number that he wore while he was at Clemson. Like, I can't get past it. Like,
yeah.
You came in here, you asked for a legend to lend you his number, and then you go to South Carolina?
Yeah.
Nah, bro. No. No. That's it's like unforgivable. We can't. No.
Yeah. No. I don't even like rehashing
never
that.
forgive you for that. Like, there's no way. You can't wear that number in a Clemson uniform and then go to that school. Like, you can't. If you would have wore any other number, I would have been like, whatever, dude. But that number, no. At that position, no. Can't do it. Can't do it.
I agree. John
and
says,
that was your coach? Come on, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, that part too. Very. Anyway, I'm not trying to raise my blood pressure at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so. Me either.
John says, any opinion on the two quarterbacks offered for 2028? Yeah, I've gotten a chance to look at both of them. Trace Hawkins, the first one. Trace, I like him. When I watched him, I just my thing with him, I think, is he didn't really wow me from an athleticism standpoint. I don't need to be wowed with my quarterbacks, but when you look at him and when I visualize him in a Chad Morris offense, and when you're going to be asking him to run the football, can he do it? Yeah. I don't think he's a particularly impressive athlete, and I think that's, I don't know. I would like it. I would like a little bit better. I would not be upset if he ends up being the guy. If they go and get him, I think the talent is there. The offer list is extremely impressive. I mean, he's going to be on everybody's radar. He's played quarterback a while, but I wasn't particularly I wasn't super wowed by his film, and I think the athletic profile is. I wish it was a little bit better. At least, to be honest with you, for what you're going to be asking for in a Chad Morris offense.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But Trey, and then was the other kid's name? Oh my goodness. Trey Wright, good Lord, from Texas. Yeah. I liked him a lot better. The size component is what scares me with him. He's 5'11", ish, problem, $170 at best. Honestly, looking at him, kid's super athletic. I mean, and statistics. The statistics. I mean, he had over 4,000 yards last year and almost 1,800 rushing yards.
Jeez.
He put up video game numbers, and
that's impressive
at Frisco. I mean, that's pretty cool. But but the size thing is what scares me. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Peyton Houston this past cycle. I don't know. Did my camera do that thing again? I was on a different page.
No, you're good.
Okay. It told me it was connected. My camera was connected. I was like, well, yeah, I hope it is. Yeah, I gotta iron out the kinks with this thing but I like, at least I like my image better than I did previous shows. But yeah, we'll see kind of which one. I think if I had to pick one, I think I like Trey a little bit better. I think he just long term, but the size component is the thing that bothers me. But I think he's a winner. He's a gamer, and the arm talent is certainly there. Yeah, CJ, we're talking about the 2028 class. So, I mean, he says focused on backup court. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you get what you think you get out of Tate Reynolds and Kareem Hewley, I mean, neither one of these guys is starting.
Yeah, they're not gonna play if those guys are what you think they are.
They're sitting for a while if they're gonna play. So I don't know. John says some fans still want Chris Denson to play quarterback. Yeah, that ship has sailed. That hasn't been formally announced, but I can tell you right now that ship has sailed. What
happened?
Not
what
at Clemson.
Happened to the other quarterback committee?
Oh yeah.
No, that's gone. That ship sailed.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, all right. I was just checking.
No, you will not be. It's your quarterback is Christopher Vezina or Tate Reynolds at this point. It's not even
no spring game MVP Trent Pierman. No
Trent Pierman, no Brock Bradley.
Dang.
No, that's we're not talking about anybody else in the show.
I remember a group of Clemson fans that was ready for Trent Pierman.
Yeah.
They were ready.
Very true. Yeah, is Denson playing wide receiver? I feel like that's his best shot if he wants to play here.
If he's going to play at Clemson, he'll change his position because he's never playing at quarterback.
Yeah,
he's never playing starting quarterback at Clemson ever. That's never happening. So he'll either transfer or change positions.
Yep, I agree. I'm not trying to like slight him at all. Like he's a incredible athlete. I think he's got a bright future at Clemson if he changes positions. But at the quarterback position, I just don't think he possesses the physical capabilities to be a starting quarterback at this level. Yeah, I agree. If he's going to play quarterback, it's not going to be at Clemson.
No, he's going to have to go elsewhere.
I loved the rushing highlights that he had last year against who was it? The Citadel? I don't even remember who we played.
It was the Citadel.
Yeah,
it was the Citadel.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was fun. I mean, and
the dude is a dynamic athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, with the ball in his hand, he's a problem.
Yeah.
Which is why I think he should switch positions because, I mean, he could be something else as a slot guy or something like that.
Yeah,
he could be dangerous.
He could be, yeah. I mean, if you want to have some like wildcat packages with him or some options,
Absolutely, yeah.
like that's cool, and put him in at quarter. But like,
I'm not saying he can't throw the ball, but like down in, down out, that's not going to be your quarterback.
no,
It's just not.
no,
But like, could you put in a package where you snap the ball to him and or you throw it out wide and then it's a double pass? Like,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely, you could do that. But down in, down out, no. Chris Denson will never be your quarterback.
no. John says, "What are the chances Juju, in reference to Juju Preston, sees many snaps at slot this year, except in uncompetitive games?" I think it's pretty slim right now.
Yeah.
And it's not because Juju hasn't made progress. I think he's made a tremendous amount of progress. He's just, I think he's at a disadvantage. One, I mean, Tyler Brown right now is the number one from everything I've been able to gather.
Correct. Yeah.
I think Tyler Brown has solidified himself as the starter at the slot. I think Naeem Burrows has come in and he's impressed enough to where they feel like he's probably your second option there. But I don't know. I could be surprised, and obviously things can change with injury and stuff like that. But at the moment, I'm not super optimistic at seeing a ton of Juju Preston, at least in the offense, like especially at slot. Like, could we see him in some special team situations? I think that's something you could consider, but at slot right now, he's not there yet. I think there's just Tyler Brown and Naeem Burrows. I think they're just more physically developed. I think they're more talented football players. Just it is what it is right now. So I mean, that just makes the path to playing time a little bit convoluted. Doesn't mean you won't see Juju at all. And I hope to see him because I like him a good bit. But as things stand right now, I think there's just there's too much stacked against him right now in this wide receiver room to really feel comfortable about him playing him right now. Let's see. David S. Is Bowman related? No, me and DeMarcus aren't related. They just have the same last name. It'd be cool. And I don't know, maybe there's some distant familial connection that I don't know about, but as far as I know, we're not related. We were on campus about the same time. Not really about the same time. It was his freshman year. I would have been a junior. So yeah, I mean, he was a couple of years behind me, but no, we're not related. And he's from Lakeland. I don't have a ton of family from Florida, so I'd be kind of surprised. A lot of my family's in Eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, a little bit of Georgia, some Virginia and DC, but not a ton in Florida.
Right.
Let's see. That's Jordan. The way he stood up the practice squad, SMA. Yeah, that was me. That was me. 100%. I see to get some recent ones. Y'all are popping off now. CJ says, "How is Denson getting on the field as a wide receiver?" I don't know. You'll have to ask him. I mean, I think that's his best path to playing time, but it's not a great one. Where else do you put him? I don't see any path to him playing quarterback at Clemson. He's kind of he's in a weird spot. He's a really good athlete, but you don't really have it's not like he's experienced at playing wide receiver. You're going to have to teach him the position. You're going to have to get him comfortable in the offense. And you're already pretty stacked at wide receiver at the moment with guys that have
it's a loaded room.
Yeah, so I mean, barring some insane injury luck in the negative direction. I don't know what you do with him. People talking about Trent Pierman. People talking about Bryce Young. I guess in reference to Trey Wright. Yeah, I mean, at the college level, it's not a big deal. I'm not necessarily so concerned about the height so much as the size. I mean, he's going to have to bulk up, and but the height is a little bit of a concern, especially when you've recruited some pretty tall offensive linemen in recent cycles. I mean, I want him to be able to see over the line. I don't want that to be a consistent point of concern for him. But again, he's such a good athlete that you'll be able to get him in rollouts and outside the pocket where he's not worried about having to get it over the defensive line. So that mitigates it a little bit. I mean, and again, that's why I like him more. It's not a major concern for me, but it's a concern. I want to make sure I give you guys, especially if I'm talking about a player that Clemson has offered. Like I want to tell you what I like and am concerned about. But I've had a preliminary glance at his film and his tape. So like I'm not, obviously he's got another year to play. He's got another year to play football. So 2 more years to play football. So I'm not sweating over it right now. He's young. Let's see. Hardshake says CV can't throw the ball either. I don't agree with that. I wouldn't like. How do you qualify that statement that he can't throw the ball? I mean, you watch the SMU tape. I didn't come away. I didn't come away from the SMU tape saying, "Man, he cannot throw the football." He has.
Oh, he can throw the ball. He can spin it.
He's spin it. I mean, CV's not like, I don't think he's the most gifted arm in the world, but he's got pretty solid arm talent. I think he can make especially I think he can make all the throws this offense is going to ask him to make. Now, like, does that mean that he spins the ball better than Tate Reynolds? Not necessarily, to be honest with you, but I don't think he throws as pretty of a ball as Tate Reynolds has at times in the rare opportunities we've seen him. But and I don't know if the velocity is quite the same, but he doesn't throw a bad ball. I wouldn't say that he can't throw the ball. I think there are some things mechanically that he could be doing better. I don't think it's an issue if he can't throw the football. I think he can. I think he's got a decent arm.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree that he can't throw the football. Well, CJ says, I just think his position change is going from tough competition to even tougher competition. Yeah, but more slots to fill. I mean, there's no chance if Chris Denson stays at quarterback. There's no chance. If Tate Reynolds is already this far ahead of him, there's no chance he ever sees the field. With Kareem Hewley coming in as well, there's no chance he ever starts a game. I just, like I said, barring crazy injury luck. So like, this is all just talking about in a pretty standard situation, standard season. At least at wide receiver, you have that. There is the realistic possibility that you have a couple injuries there, and maybe you move up a little bit. And the rotational aspect of it, you're not rotating quarterbacks, so like there's just no path to playing time there as opposed to wide receiver. I don't. But if you don't put him at wide receiver, again, where do you put him? He's not big enough to play tight end in any meaningful fashion. I'm not putting him at running back. He doesn't have a running back body. He's not. I'm not going to ask him to take those types of hits and run between the tackles and do that. So I mean, it's either you put them gloves on, buddy, and run them routes, or what do I do? What do I do? I'm not putting you on defense. So like, what do you do with him? Again, and I'm not saying you can't have like packages for him as like an option quarterback. I think that's well within reason. Whether or you could do like some wildcat stuff. There are things you can do to be creative with him and get him opportunities. But like you said, TPC, like from a down to down basis, there's just no chance that ever happens.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
I thought for a second there, my thing did it did the thing again, and I was talking over you. I would have been.
No,
So,
you're good.
Oh man, we're just gonna say that was a glitch and pretended that didn't happen. All right. Isaac Smith says Darian Kendrick made the switch and it worked out for him. Still playing in the NFL. I don't think those situations are analogous because one, Darian Kendrick was never he wasn't recruited to play quarterback at all. He was recruited to play wide receiver. So there was no pretenses. There was no semblance or understanding or hope that Darian Kendrick was going to play quarterback at Clemson. He just wasn't. You recruited him to play wide receiver. Didn't really work out. At least in the first year. I mean, it was a loaded room. You needed help at corner. Made sense to make the switch because he had experience. He played both ways in high school. Chris Denson didn't. So like I don't think those situations are analogous. I mean, Darian Kendrick and he just was built differently. I mean, he was bigger, a better athlete. At least in terms of the non-straight line speed stuff. Like, I mean, just better hips, better change of direction, a more robust athlete than what Chris Denson is. I can't make that comparison. So, I mean, you could let him try at defensive back. I don't see the value in it with the players you already have, but sure, I mean, I guess you could give him a shot, but like again, I don't know. I'm not a football coach. I don't get paid millions of dollars to make that decision. I don't see how he fits anywhere else. And I mean, I don't even think wide receiver is a great fit, but like where else? What do you do with him? Because he just cannot. He's not a functional thrower of the football right now in this offense. And
yeah,
I don't see how that's going to work out.
Yeah, I don't either.
Let's see. Tyler Brown stood out the spring game. Yeah, I mean, I'm really rooting for Tyler Brown, man. I mean, just I think that freshman All-American version of him is still in there somewhere. But yeah, he's got on a lot. I mean, the fact that he's been able to stave off Naeem Burrows is encouraging. As high as I am on him, I mean, Tyler Brown he's in his fourth season and he's got loads of experience and you could say that maybe it's a seniority thing, but from what I've been told, I mean, Tyler Brown was the better player during spring. So, I mean, take that for what you will. Maybe things change and, Naeem Burrows, he gets over whatever, maybe there's a freshman wall that he kind of breaks through and he just never looks back. Or maybe Tyler Brown has one last hurrah, one strong. I mean, I don't even know if it's one last. I think he technically has another year of eligibility, but like he has a really nice senior year, and we're talking he's like a great option in the slot, and it's and we're talking about it differently, but I don't know. I have hope for him. Last season was disappointing, but I think that from what we've heard throughout spring, it's been very positive. So I'm optimistic that we see that version of him, the version that was in what was otherwise a pretty frustrating season. He was making some pretty spectacular plays in 2023. So I don't know. Hard says this is what Dabo did to Tink. No, I mean other. I guess. Kind of, but I mean, Tink Kelly, like with him, it was never like he wasn't great at receiver when he got there. I mean, he was kind of a in between type of player. Again, he's walking into a room with a lot of already talented football players that his path to playing time wasn't really there. They switched him to defensive back. I don't know if I don't know if you'll ever get a really productive player out of Tink Kelly. I don't know at this point. I mean, you never say never. I don't, and it's not to bash the kid, but he was a local take. They liked his story. I mean, and he's very much a Clemson kid. I like Tink a lot. I don't know if that kid is real. I don't know if they really ever expect him to kind of break through and have that moment. I mean, he'll get some opportunities this year, I think. Just with the way the defensive back room has kind of shaked out the cornerback room. You still have some questions. Deeper in the depth chart. So I mean, there's a flux of guys in there. Maybe Tink Kelly emerges and he has a strong year, but I don't know. I don't know if that's. I mean, I guess that's kind of similar to Chris Denson, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's do a couple more and then get on out of here. Yeah, CJ says with the talent in the weapon room, CV can throw catchable ball. Yeah, I mean, I have not come away like overly impressed when I've watched Chris Rivazina play, but I've never said that he can't. Like, I think he has enough ability to make the throws that this offense is going to ask him to make. I mean, it's not like he's going to be making.
I mean, I don't think Chris Rivazina is this like game-changing quarterback. But I think he possesses enough talent with the talent that's around him and the new offense that Clemson will be running. I think he'll be serviceable, and there will be an improvement in the offense. But again, I mean, I don't think Christopher Rivazina is this game-changing quarterback. He's not. He's not a guy that's going to be. I see him more as a game managing type of quarterback, right? Like he's not going to be this otherworldly like Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence type of like you win because of them, right?
Let's see. Oh, we got Jackson in the house. He says, let's help Jordan and TPC get Clemson Voice of College Football to 10,000 subs. Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're climbing. still got a little bit of ways until we get there, but it starts with the first one. So
this college football YouTube is saturated.
yeah.
So it's an uphill battle, but we're grinding away at it. And thank you to everybody who have already subscribed and tune into this show every week. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. CJ says BYOG or sell. At least 4 pass catchers will have a breakout game. I guess what's your definition of breakout game? Like, and are we saying like 4 pass catchers will have a breakout game at some point in the season, or in a particular game, or I'm assuming at some point this season? Like, is it like, do you have to have like 100 receiving yards, or is it like a touchdown requirement?
4 different wide receivers.
He just says pass catchers.
Or pass catchers. Okay.
That could be any skill.
I mean, I'll buy that.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah,
I think our wide receiver core is deep enough, and then you got the tight end room, and we know how Chad Morris likes to use the tight ends. I mean, Christian Bentaker is a guy that can. I mean, I think he can be a problem this upcoming season in a Chad Morris offense that's going to utilize him far better than a Garrett Riley offense ever would have.
Some point in the season, I guess, in the sense of being the hot hand for one game. Yeah, I can get down with that. I'll buy that.
Yeah, I'll buy that for sure. I think that's definitely possible for this this group of guys.
Oh, Isaac it says thoughts on the Bulls pick so far in the draft. Yeah, I mean, first pick was their first pick was Caleb Wilson. That's the guy who I expected them to take. I like him a lot. Think he's going to be he's if he was available at that pick, that's who I would have wanted them to take. So, I'm not going to sing their praises for doing what was kind of, I felt it was kind of the obvious pick. I mean, I think he was mocked to the Bulls like pretty basically anywhere you look. So pleased with that. Hope you got your star of the future there. He would probably be a top 2 or 3 pick in any other draft. This is a pretty stacked, especially it's a pretty top heavy group this year. A lot of really good players that will be going in the lottery in general. So can't complain with that pick. So I don't know if let's see. Is the first round still going? Or have they because I know it started at like 8 o'clock, but I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not following it.
Who's the other kid they put? The Texas kid, wasn't it? I honestly don't have many thoughts on him. I didn't get a chance. I didn't watch a ton of Texas this past year. I think I saw him a little bit during Texas tournament run. But I don't know if he was projected to go that high, from what I remember. So I don't know. We'll see about that one. I'll have deeper thoughts when I've had some. I'll have a chance to go kind of dig in. But at least the Caleb Wilson pick, I'm pretty pleased with. All right, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I got a little bit of a late start tonight, so thank you guys for bearing with us. if you haven't already, like I said, if you haven't already, make sure you are hitting that like button on your way out. Me and TPC will be live next week. I'm actually going to have to move the show potentially. My stepsister's birthday dinner is that Tuesday night, so going to do that, and probably be Wednesday. We'll put out an announcement. If we need to, if we obviously change something or go a different route there, but we'll do a show next week, and we'll put out an announcement. I'll make sure that if you haven't, that you're checking the community tab, because that's where we put all of our announcements whenever there's schedule changes and things like that, and kind of keeps you guys abreast and aware of what's going on, and if we if we need to move things around. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Let me give a quick shout out to our channel members that joined us tonight. John, of course, as always, one of our regulars. Let's see, Zachariah. I feel bad. I missed his. I meant to hit on his comment. I'll talk about him real quick. His comment. He says the only reason they cracked down on Brendan Sorsby is because nobody makes more money from gambling in the NFL and college football. They're going to continue to tweak outcomes for their own greed. Well, I mean, I'm not much of a conspiracy on at least on the NFL. Like, I think there's some shady stuff that goes on. I don't think like there's a league wide fixing thing. I mean, I think there are individual cases, I think, across all sports, but I don't think there's I don't necessarily think there's a vested that Vegas is rigging the games type of thing. I don't know, but maybe that's some people may feel differently about that, but I think they needed to crack down on this Brendan Sorsby thing, because I think that would I think if they had let him,
I had to, man. That dude could not take a snap in college football this season. If he took a snap in college football this season, I mean, you might as well pack it up. I mean, it's over. Of all the rules, you got to be able to enforce that one.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then you just don't have a sport at that point. I mean, no sport ever anywhere allows their players to gamble on their sport. Nowhere does that happen. So for that judge in Texas to do that was absolutely absurd. And all the reasons that he cited were ridiculous. Oh, he will have irreparable damage. That's called consequences of your actions.
Consequences of your actions.
That's called consequences. It's supposed to be painful. It's supposed to hurt. It's consequences. So I mean, whatever, man. I'm glad to see him go. I don't think he has any business in taking another college football snap ever. And good luck to him in the NFL.
Couldn't have said it better. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for us tonight. Like I said, thank you, Zachariah. And thank you to all of our channel members who joined us. I think those were I think I hit on the two that we saw tonight. But like I said, we'll be live next week at some point. So make sure you guys are hitting that notification bell as well, because if you miss the community tab notification, you'll at least get the notification when we go live. But until then, he's Tiger Paul Craven. I'm Jordan Bowman. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.